Hooty hoo, all my stock market gamblers. Welcome today. I'm Tall Mike. So glad you're here. Well, first I want to wish everybody a happy new year. We made it to the new year. This is my first podcast of the new year. So, okay, what's going on in the stock market? Well, last year we ran up, right? The Dow closed at a record high. The NASDAQ, well, it hit a record, pulled back a little bit, but the S&P never hit their record high. It hasn't hit the high that it hit 2 years ago. That high is at 48.18, right? And I thought we'd go up and hit that before we get the pullback, but it looks like we may not hit that first. Now, if we're down below the 10-day moving average, and if we can stay down below that 10-day moving average, you're going to see distribution take place. You're going to see profits take place. There's going to be profit taking. We've had that big run up, right, in the S&P, up about 17, 18%. So how far of a pullback do I think we'll get? I think we'll give about half of that back, which is only about 8 or 9% drop from here. And that's very possible, very realistic. The market even needs that. Maybe after we do that, we'll revisit and maybe they will push it up to a new record high, but we haven't hit a new record high yet in the S&P. We're lower than we were 2 years ago at this time. So if you were in the market for the last 2 years and you don't feel rich, that could be why we're actually a little bit lower. But here's the thing. All right, so we got this rate cuts coming, right? The Fed has admitted it. They say they're going to do 3 rate cuts this year. 3 rate cuts. Now, the market, they're expecting 6 or 7 rate cuts. And I think the market's going to be a little bit disappointed. I don't think the Fed's going to come down that far. Maybe they will. Maybe they'll panic. Maybe they'll come down to 0 again. You see, a lot of people think they will. That's just not my take. You see, everybody's betting on this soft landing. You hear about it everywhere. Oh, soft landing. Soft landing. Once again, that's not my take. There's not going to be a soft landing. I think it's going to be a very rough landing. That's just my take. Your take may be completely different. Let's see what's going on in the real estate market now. Okay, so I was reading this article, right? Now this article is saying, what's the problem out there? Look at 4 million people went out and bought homes last year. 4 million people. Now that's a little bit low. Normal is about 6 million. I'm using rough numbers. Those aren't exact, but 4 million people bought homes. Average is about 6 million. So the article was kind of coming out and saying that there's nothing wrong. There's no problem, right? There's no problem. The Fed's going to pivot. They're going to reduce rates, and this is going to get back to normal. Everything's going to get back to normal. Now, if you think everything's getting back to normal, I think you got another thought coming. I think you're going to be in for a rude awakening. There's not going to be any back to normal. Okay, now, here's the thing. The Fed, yes, they may drop rates back to 0, but they're going to be dropping rates for a reason, right? The reason is that the economy is not doing well. The economy is going into a recession, if you will. And the Fed knows this, and that's why they're already admitting that they're going to reduce rates 3 times, market betting on 6 or 7 times. But there's not going to be a going back to normal. The rates are not going to go back to 0%. Now, on the short end of the curve, they may come down, right? But I don't think the high end is going to follow that. And right now, we have this inverted yield curve. Short end up here, high end down here. Is going to invert this year. And that's where the recession comes. That's where the bad stuff comes. That's where the unemployment comes. That's where the problem in the housing market comes. But now, if I go on to read this article, right? Okay, so they're saying, what's the problem? 4 million people bought houses last year, but the buyers are saying, but we can't afford it. But the article says, well, just go out and borrow money from mommy and daddy. They got extra money. Maybe borrow from a relative, and then you're going to be fine. You can get a gift, and then you can go buy the house. Well, what if you don't have parents that are rich? Well, here's what you do, the article says. You move the parents in with you. Now, if you don't have parents to move in with you, maybe you join with another family, and 2 families go out and buy the house together. So you buy a 1,200 square foot home, and you got 8 or 10 people living in the house. That's how you make the mortgage payment. The article is saying this is the new normal. They're There's no problem in real estate. There's so much demand out there that people are going to be buying the houses by borrowing money from their parents or by moving people into the house. Extra people living with you. This will be the new norm. Now, maybe you wanted to go out and buy a nice house in a nice area, but hey, that's off the table now. So what if you have to buy a dump in a terrible area? You don't mind crime, do you? You don't mind getting robbed. You don't mind your house getting broken into. Just get out there and buy. What's wrong with you people? I mean, I can't believe it. This is what the article's talking. This isn't me talking. This is what the article's talking. They say, hey, maybe you want to live close to work and not have a commute. But you can't afford the house close to work, so you have to commute 100 miles each way. What's the problem? What's the big deal? Just get out there and buy. Get out there and buy. There's no problem, right? I mean, don't be a loser. You want to go buy a house. So you know people that bought houses, they're the winners. They got that equity envy going. Their house has equity in it. They 200,000. You don't have anything. You're a loser if you didn't buy a house. You didn't get 2.8. So go out there and get 7.5, 7.8. You just got to do it. You just got to jump into this market. This is what they're telling you in this article. Now, who cares if houses go down 50% from here? That doesn't matter, right? Nobody cares about that. Just go out and buy. Look, the crash is already started. Now, people don't see this. People don't see this, right? Okay, it's actually started in China this time. Last time, 2008, subprime started here, and we brought down the rest of the world with us. Now the crash has started in China. They're going down, and they're crashing really hard on the real estate market. 50% off might be a very, very conservative estimate for China. But Mike, that's China. I live in the United States. Well, okay, all right. So it started in China. Where's it moved to? It's moved to Europe already. Europe's coming down now. Europe's starting to crash. But Mike, that's Europe. I live in the U.S. It could never happen in the U.S. We are a strong country. We have everything going right for ourselves. We have great leaders. Look at that Joe out there. We got Bidenomics. We're doing great in the U.S. Our house prices are never, ever going to go down here. The rest of the world, sure, the rest of the world could come crashing down, but not the United States, Mike. What are you thinking about? Look, I'm not a prophet. God didn't give me that gift, but he did give me a gift of common sense, right? This is just common sense. Look, we're 40% above the long-term moving average. All I'm saying is it's going to drop back to the long-term moving average. Always does. And a lot of times it overshoots to the downside. So it may be greater than 40%, but it's going to revert back to the mean. It always happens. Now, how can it do that? Well, it can do that several different ways, right? All right, we could go, well, your incomes could double, right? If your incomes double, houses stay here, we pretty much reverted back to the mean, right? Because, well, the house stayed here and you're now making twice as much so you can afford that house. That's one way, right? Okay, what's another way? Well, we could hyperinflate. We could hyperinflate. Look, we got a lot of idiots in office. We got even bigger idiots running the Fed right now, and they're just going to borrow money as much as they can. They're going to print money as much as they can, and they're just could lead us right into hyperinflation. But Mike, we have the reserve currency. Reserve currency has never hyperinflated, and that's true. A reserve currency is never hyperinflated, but no government's been stupid enough to print this amount of money. Okay, so just common sense will tell you we have a problem. We're at 34 trillion now, and I think we'll hit $50 trillion in the next 3 years. Now, is that sustainable? No, frankly, it's not sustainable. This is what's going to bring down your house. Now, you may be all right for this year. Look, this is an election year, but to be perfectly honest, I think there's going to be a major event happen before the election. I don't know what that is. Maybe it's a financial crisis. That would be my call. Probably the banking system. Maybe some black swan flies in, because there's a lot of black swans just circling above. You can pick one of many, right? Or maybe it's a false flag maybe even on American soil. That would be bad. But I do sense a major event coming in 2024. Now, I don't hope any of those things happen. I just sense that maybe one's coming, right? I think a lot of people have that same feeling out there. A lot of people know what's up in the world. The ones that watch my channel, for example, now the regular people, they don't have a clue what's going on. Everything's great. They watch the mainstream media. Mainstream media is going to tell you what a wonderful world we're living in right now. And I agree, these are the good times. Nothing really bad has happened yet, but it's going to happen and it's going to get here. And I say we don't have 3 years left. Will it happen this year? This is an election year. I understand that. They want to keep everything good so Joe has a chance again. Now, I don't think Joe's going to be our next president. I don't know who is. I don't even think Joe's going to run. I'm not even sure he'll be alive at that time. I mean, that guy's getting up there in the years and he already looks like a walking corpse to me. But okay, so maybe they find someone else to be president, right? But we got an election year and they want the markets to do well. I mean, the Fed wants markets to do well so that they can get their person in and then they can keep their job. Someone comes in that's against the Fed, they're probably going to lose their job, and nobody wants to lose their job. But speaking of job losses, the layoffs that are coming, they're just starting one after the other. Every company's announcing layoffs. Why is that? Economy is booming, right? But the layoffs are being announced one after the other, after the other. I don't think that the unemployment rate is really at 3%. I think it's already up close to 10%, but I think it's going much higher. The reason I think it's already up at 10%, if you use the job force as to what it was pre-pandemic versus now, they'll tell you there's a lot of people not working, but here's what are the ones that are working. They're holding down 2 or 3 jobs just so they can make ends meet. That's what you have to do in America now. You can't just go with one job. You got to have 2 or 3 jobs. And if you got 2 families or they have 2 people working each, husband and wife both work in each family, and they each have 2 or 3 jobs, maybe they can squeeze into one house. You got to go out and buy now. Hurry. These are the prices that Billy Bob got out at, and you want to buy before these prices come down. I'm telling you, you got to hurry because these prices will come down. Now, maybe they hold it another year. I personally hope they do. I don't want bad stuff to happen. I'm a real estate broker. I got a couple listings coming on this month. I want them to sell. I want someone to buy them, right? I don't want this market to collapse. I want to hold it up. That's what I want, but I don't know how long it will last. Will it last 3 years? Not a chance. Not a chance. We're running away with the debt problem. And, in 2008, that was really what people were talking about. They were talking about the big debt problem back then, right? I mean, it was big. It was like, I don't know, $10 trillion. Well, we're at $34 trillion now. And in 2008, like the Fed, they had $1 trillion on their balance sheet. What do they have now? $8 trillion. I actually believe the Fed's going to go to 20 or 30 trillion in the next 3 years. It might take 4 years, but 3 to 4, right? Okay, this is not going to end well. Now you can say, but Mike, I want to buy a house now. And you can get out there and buy where Billy Bob sold at. And then 3 or 4 years from now, you can give it back to the bank when you're 50% underwater, because that's what a lot of people are going to be doing. They're going to be known as the bag holder. They're going to be holding the bag. Now, if you don't want to be holding the bag, I'd sit back and, well, maybe just rent for a couple of years, see how this plays out. I really don't think that the market's going to run away. Now, of course, you talk to Dave Ramsey, it's going to double from here. Barbara Cochran, we're going to the moon. But they were saying all this back in 2007, right before the big collapse then. They got skin in the game. Their whole investment portfolio's in real estate. They want to keep that up, and that's what this article was all about. Don't be a loser. Get out there and buy now. Look, you got to buy now. This is your last chance. We're running out of houses. They're not making anymore. Actually, they're making a lot of them. They're building a lot of them, building them as fast as they can. They're trying to get them onto the market at these high prices before the prices go down. They want to make the money. They want to make it now. And new homes, what they do for you, they'll buy down the rate so you can feel like you're a winner, right? They're not going to sell you that house at that 8% rate. No, they're going to buy it down to 5%. And they're going to do that for 2 years for you. And then they'll bump up to 8, 10, 12%, wherever we're at the time. But these new homes have to get sold because that's what they do. They need their money back so they can go go build some more homes. And that's the way it works. Apartment buildings. Oh my goodness, there's a million of them, brand new ones, luxury coming onto the market. There's going to be a glut. You're going to see the rents, those dropping really quickly. I mean, they're already starting to drop in most areas. My area is down. Rents are down 10, 15% already. Look at the market's changing, and it's changing at a much more rapid pace. So 2024 is going to be interesting. Maybe we don't get a black swan. Maybe we don't get a false flag. Maybe they hold everything level until the election. I hope so. If you like this stuff, I'm Tall Mike. Give me the thumbs up. Why not? It's the new year. Everybody get out there and have a great year. We'll talk again real soon. Bye-bye now.